Hi starting out solitary, it's Pandora coming at you with another regular Tuesday video, and this week our topic is witches in the media. So I first started studying and practicing witchcraft and self-identifying as a witch in the late 90s, and like a lot of people who got into it around that time, I was very drawn to witchcraft when I watched movies such as The Craft and Practical Magic, and TV shows such as Charmed and Buffy and Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and then later on, the Harry Potter books came out and they were turned into movies, and I would see these glamorous depictions of young women doing spells and getting together in circles and doing magic, and I just thought it was all really, really cool. It got me interested in witchcraft, and so when I first started to actually read books and to explore witchcraft for myself, I found a path and a practice and a spirituality that really spoke to me and resonated with me and really appealed to me in its own right. And I think that's the key that's really important here, is that it's fine to enjoy all of these different fantastical and unrealistic and far-fetched depictions of witchcraft and witches in the media. I think it's fine to enjoy those for entertainment value, but we have to realize that they are fictional and they're not real, and as long as you go beyond them and you are actually interested in real magic in its own right and realizing that it doesn't work exactly the same way that it does in the movies, then I think that you're fine, and there's not really any bad depictions of witchcraft necessarily, I don't think. And since the late 90s, it's really continued. Like, there have been other TV shows with depictions of witches in them. I haven't kept up with all of them. Like, I never watched Witches of East End, I think it is, and American Horror Story Coven. I think I watched a couple of episodes, but I didn't sort of keep up with it. And I watched The Secret Circle, which is based on a book series, I think, and I really quite enjoyed that. That was fun, a bit of teenage romance with some magic thrown in, and I thought that was a really good show. It's a shame they didn't bring it back for a second series, but anyway. Yeah, and the other side to witches in the media is when you see news reports, and obviously from time to time you will see news reports that are quite sensationalist and cast witches in a negative light, especially in parts of the world where witchcraft is seen in a negative light, like for example the Bible Belt in the US and things like that. But you'll also sometimes see news reports that feature witches that show us in a really down-to-earth, non-threatening, realistic light, and just kind of give people a little bit of a glimpse into what it's actually like being a witch, and that we are just normal people who have a different spiritual practice and a slightly different path and different views to other people spiritually, and that it doesn't make us bad. It's just it's quite, we're just normal people. And one of them was a news report, which I'll try to link below if I can find it, but it featured Lucy Cavendish and Stacey DeMarco and Nandy, who is one of the owner-proprietors of Xandra's Mystic Emporium in Townsville, and it was just a really fantastic news report that was really, it showed witches really in a really down-to-earth light, and it just kind of gave people that little bit of an explanation about what real witchcraft is about. And I think that we need that. Like, we need people to come forward and to be public as witches who do present us as for what we are, which is just normal everyday people at the end of the day. And there have been some public witches that perhaps don't portray us in a positive light and had made mistakes in the past, and I don't want to talk too much about that because some of them are quite controversial, and I know some viewers will disagree with me on specific people. But one that I want to talk about is this lady, and going back to my explorations as a teenage witch in the late 90s, I used to read books by Fiona Horn, and at the time, I was a teenager, and I just thought that Fiona Horn was so cool. She was a witch, she was a rock star, and I thought that from the outside her life seemed great. And fast forward to last year when I read her autobiography, The Naked Witch, parts of this book were absolutely harrowing to read. She has gone through so much heartache. She has really struggled in her life with addiction and mental illness and had all kinds of challenges in her life. And I kind of had this realization that as a naive teenager looking at her life from the outside looking in, that maybe it wasn't as great as I thought it was in those days. And I kind of felt a little bit silly about that. Like, it just kind of shows how much I've grown up. I've grown up basically. And I've realized that nobody's life is as perfect as it might seem from the outside. And I want to, in that light, on that note, I want to touch on witches in social media. Now, recently, a stack of research has come out, and even Facebook themselves have admitted that Facebook can be bad for your mental health. Seeing everybody else's highlight reel all the time and comparing it to your own behind the scenes life, which is basically what you're doing when you're spending too much time on social media and, you know, using it to stalk your ex and stuff like that, which who does that? And, you know, just seeing how, you know, what everybody else shares on social media. And I'm guilty of it myself. I'm not going to share all the negative stuff on Facebook and Instagram and whatnot. And for me, it's kind of this balancing act between being authentic while still being positive and not complaining all the time, but not airing my dirty laundry either. And you've got to remember that when you're looking at witches on social media. Like, just because there's this little square picture on Instagram of somebody's altar set up looking absolutely fantastic, and you know, all the books that they're buying, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean that their path and their practice is any better than yours, or any more meaningful, or any deeper, or any better or more beneficial for them than your path is for you. And you've got to remember that. Just remember that when you're using social media as a witch and you are looking at people's altar pictures and altar tours and everything that they're sharing on their blog and on social media, it's not always completely the truth. And I think it is so important for us to distinguish when we see witches in the media, whether or not it's the truth and whether or not it's real, and whether we can compare it to what's happening for us. So that's really all that I've got to say on the topic of witches in the media. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Just be careful, take the rose-colored glasses off and look at everything from a real perspective. And yeah, that's all I've got to say. So thank you very much for watching me here on Starting Out Solitary. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!